Welcome to this video on the safety net myth for repatriating citizens. First, we will set expectations. Returning home as a citizen grants entry, but it does not guarantee instant support. Next, we will walk through the reality at the border, the bureaucratic barriers for housing and benefits, the habitual residence requirements, and why embassies cannot help with settlement. Then, we will outline a practical survival plan you can prepare from abroad, including lodging, documents, and a financial buffer. Finally, we will summarize key takeaways and offer resources to start your plan. Let's begin. Here is today's agenda. First, the illusion of immediate aid on arrival. Second, we'll examine housing and benefits barriers, including local council processes. Third, we'll cover the Habitual Residence Test, which affects benefit eligibility. Fourth, we'll clarify why embassies and consulates cannot help with settlement inside your home country. Fifth, we'll provide a survival plan to prepare from abroad. Sixth, we'll map out practical timelines and a budgeting approach. Seventh, we'll test your understanding with a short quiz. Finally, we'll wrap up with key takeaways and next steps. Now, let's proceed to the core myth. The illusion is simple. You imagine that as soon as you clear immigration, state support will materialize. However, after a routine border check as a citizen, there is no automatic reception unit, no hotel voucher, and no benefit officer waiting. Instead, you are treated like any other citizen relocating domestically, expected to have made your own arrangements. Consequently, the moment you step outside the airport, you remain responsible for your own shelter, food, and transport. With that clarified, let's detail what actually happens at the border. On arrival, you go through standard identity checks using your passport or national ID. Then, as a citizen, you are admitted. But, crucially, that is where immediate government assistance ends. There is no welcome team, no housing voucher, and no immediate welfare package. Therefore, your survival hinges on the pre-made plan you bring: lodging booked, documents organized, and funds for the first weeks. Now that we understand the starting point, let's contrast the myth and the reality side by side. Let's compare. The myth suggests instant support, guaranteed emergency housing upon arrival, immediate benefit payments, and embassy coordination. In reality, support mechanisms are delayed and conditional. Local councils handle scarce social housing and often require physical presence and eligibility checks. Benefits are subject to residence tests and processing delays. Embassies primarily handle emergencies abroad, not domestic relocations. With that distinction established, we can now unpack housing and benefits more deeply. Housing is controlled locally. You apply to the council in the area where you intend to settle. However, there are waiting lists, strict eligibility criteria, and significant competition. Emergency accommodation may exist, but is not guaranteed, and when provided, it can be basic and short-term. Crucially, you typically must be physically present in the area for assessment. This means arriving without a roof expecting the council to instantly solve your crisis is a risky gamble. Next, let's detail the documentation you should carry to avoid administrative dead ends. Carry identity documents and proof of citizenship to pass checks and access services. If you have a tax or national insurance number, bring evidence because it helps with employment and benefit processes. Bring medical records and prescriptions for continuity of care. If staying with someone, a host letter or tenancy document can help prove where you will stay. Bank statements may support financial verification. Evidence of intent to settle, such as travel bookings, job or school ties, can support residence assessments. Ensure you have a working phone or SIM for verification steps, and store digital backups of everything. Now let's look at benefits and the habitual residence challenge. For core living support, a claim such as universal credit may apply. However, submitting the claim triggers identity verification and residence checks. The Habitual Residence Test evaluates whether you are genuinely settling. This decision can take weeks or longer, especially if you have been abroad for an extended period. During that time, you will likely have little to no income from the state, so you must rely on your own funds. Housing-related support is not immediate. Rent may go unpaid at first. Therefore, planning a financial buffer is essential. With that in mind, let's visualize a realistic first-month journey. This journey diagram maps the first 30 days. Initially, you arrive and secure temporary lodging while setting up a local SIM. Next, during days 1 to 7, you apply for benefits online, contact the local council about housing needs, and register with a general practitioner for medical continuity. Then, from days 7 to 14, you gather and submit evidence for residence tests, attend identity checks, and secure any host letters or tenancy proofs. Finally, during days 14 to 30, you wait for decisions, follow up with the council, monitor your benefit claim, and attend any interviews. Emotions often range from mixed and anxious to hopeful and determined. Now, let's consider how to budget your buffer. In the first month, lodging typically consumes the largest share of your budget. Food and transport follow. Set aside a small amount for document fees and a working phone with data. Maintain a contingency to handle the unexpected, such as extra nights, deposit top-ups, or replacement documents. Given these pressures, it is essential to have funds before you travel. Next, let's convert this into actionable steps you can execute from abroad. Here are actionable steps. First, secure temporary lodging for at least a month before you travel. Second, if staying with someone, get a host letter or arrange a tenancy start date. Third, scan and back up all documents and also bring paper copies. Fourth, ensure you have a working phone with data on day 1. Fifth, research the local council's application procedures and locations. Sixth, assemble evidence that shows your intent to settle, such as return travel details, job search records, or school ties. Seventh, set aside a cash buffer sufficient for several weeks or more. Eighth, bring essential medications and medical records for continuity of care. Finally, store emergency contacts and addresses offline. With a plan in hand, let's clarify the embassy question. Embassies and consulates focus on citizens' emergencies abroad, such as lost passports, arrests, or immediate crises while outside the country. They do not arrange council housing, cannot file domestic benefit claims, and do not provide funds for resettlement back home. Therefore, contacting them for settlement support inside your home country usually leads nowhere. Instead, let's look at who can practically help once you are back. Practical support comes from domestic agencies. Contact the local council housing team for assessments and emergency options. Visit benefit service counters or portals for claims and verification. Seek guidance from Citizens Advice for process navigation. Homelessness charities and outreach teams can provide immediate practical support. Food banks and community kitchens help bridge food gaps. Faith and community groups can sometimes assist with temporary shelter or essentials. With the support map clear, let's insert a quick knowledge check. Quiz time. Which statement best describes the embassy's role in your repatriation? Option A. They will arrange your council housing. Option B. They will provide funds for your first month. Option C. They help with crises abroad. They don't manage domestic settlement. Option D. They can fast-track your benefits claim. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is that embassies help with crises abroad and do not manage domestic settlement. They are not housing authorities, welfare offices, or financial assistance providers for a return home. Now let's confirm your understanding of housing timing. Second quiz question. On arrival, can you rely on the council to provide guaranteed same-day housing? Option A. Yes, guaranteed same-day housing for all returning citizens. Option B. No, emergency housing is limited, eligibility-based, and not guaranteed. Option C. Yes, but only if you present a return ticket. Option D. Only if the embassy sends a letter. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is that emergency housing is limited, eligibility-based, and not guaranteed. You should expect competition, assessments, and delays. If offered, accommodation can be basic and short-term. Next, let's give you a quick checklist you can copy. Here is a quick checklist you can copy and paste. Ensure lodging is booked for at least a month. Obtain a host letter or tenancy start date. Bring core identity papers and any tax or national insurance numbers. Include medical records and sufficient medication. Keep both digital and paper copies of all documents. Make sure your phone works with data and contacts stored offline. Gather evidence of intent to settle. Hold a buffer budget for several weeks or more. Plan your route to the council office and benefits service for the first days. With the checklist in hand, we should also address important disclaimers. This content is informational and not legal, immigration, or financial advice. Policies differ between jurisdictions and evolve over time. Eligibility, documentation requirements, and processing timelines vary by council and agency. Verify details with official government sources or a qualified advisor before making commitments. If you are in immediate danger or homeless, contact local emergency services and the local council's homelessness line as soon as possible. Now, to consolidate learning, let's capture the key points. These are the key points. Entry as a citizen does not equal immediate welfare support. Council housing is limited and slow. Benefits depend on residence assessments and take time. Therefore, you must build your own initial safety net by arranging lodging, gathering documents, and saving a cash buffer. Embassies will not manage your domestic resettlement. Begin preparations from abroad so that you arrive with stability. Next, we will summarize the full journey. Here is the condensed summary. At the border, you enter as a citizen, but support does not start at the airport. For housing, you must apply locally and anticipate waits, so arrange a roof beforehand. For benefits, residence tests and processing delays are common, so fund yourself during the gap. Your plan should include lodging, documents, and a realistic budget. Seek help from councils, advice centers, and charities rather than embassies. Finally, let's close with a thank you and a call to action. Thank you for watching. If this was useful, please like the video, share it with anyone considering a return, and subscribe for practical, reality-based planning. Most importantly, tell us your experiences and tips in the comments so others can learn from them. See you in the next video.